Hey everybody, it's Mr. Bierbauer here with another art lesson. This week we're going to be starting to learn about paper weaving. It's going to be a 2-week lesson. For week 1 we're going to introduce and we're going to be making the looms that we're going to be using. And then next week and week 2 we will be doing the weaving. For today, materials you're going to need heavy paper if you have it, like a construction paper or a cover paper, something a little bit sturdier. If you don't, it will work with regular paper, but it's a little bit easier if it's a little stronger. You'll need scissors. If you've got a ruler, we're going to use a ruler. That's mostly just going to be for a straight edge and for spacing out. We won't actually have to measure anything. You'll need a pencil, and then if you want, you can use some coloring materials as well. So, of course, we're going to start with our artist promise. As artists, we will always try our best, respect ourselves, our friends, and our artwork, take responsibility, imagine new things, support each other, and take time to clean up. Today, our I can statement is I can use scissors safely to create a paper loom. So it doesn't look like much here, but it's going to be a little bit tricky to make, and it's going to be super important. We've got to have this loom so we can make our weaving next time. So, what is weaving? And what can people make by weaving? Think about that for just a couple seconds. All right, so weaving is just art that's made by going over and under with a material like yarn or string or paper, or it could be reeds, it could be lots of different things. So we're going to try something today to help y'all pay attention. Whenever I say weave or weaving, I want you to show me over and under with your hands. So over, under, over, under. So let's practice. What is weaving? Okay, so we got it. So anytime I say weave or weaving, show me over and under. Let's take a look at a couple examples, and then we're going to read a quick book. So this is a loom. A loom is the object that people use to weave on. You can see this loom is made of wood, and there are lots of strands of material going across here one way, and then lots of them going the other way as well. So these base strings here, these are called the warp. Every loom is going to have some sort of warp. A warp is basically it's the part that is set on the loom, and it's not going to move. All this other string going across here, this is called the weft. So warp will go usually up and down, and weft will go across, and it's going to go over and under to make the weaving. Here you can see here's a man weaving a basket. Looks like he's using reeds, so that's another material. And over here is another loom that has a tapestry being woven. That's another version of weave. All right. So you can make a lot of things with weaving. So I'm going to read you a book called The Spider Weaver, and I want you to think about a couple things while I read. First of all, what do the people in the story weave? And who teaches them a new type of weaving? And how does their weaving change? So let's find out. This is called The Spider Weaver, A Legend of Kente Cloth, and it's by Margaret Musgrove. The Spider Weaver, A Legend of Kente Cloth. Once, long ago, in the Ashanti village of Bonwire in the country of Ghana, there lived 2 expert weavers. One weaver was called Nana Karagu, the other was Nana Amiya. These men wore a simple cloth called Nwen Nutama, and everyone, from the king of the Ashanti people to the lowliest apprentice, wore it. So you can see they have their looms, and they are weaving. Late one night, They went inside the great Ashanti forest to check their traps for grass cutters, animals that they could bring home to roast. On this night, they found grass cutters in all three of their traps. The weavers were very thankful. Kurogo and Ayama were returning home when Ayama stopped suddenly. The light from his lantern had fallen on an amazing sight, glowing like moonbeams against the midnight sky. "Come look, my friend," Ayama whispered to Kurogo. "I see a small miracle." So what are they looking at? Let's find out. The small miracle was actually a web, but never before had either of them seen such a wonderful design. Yet it had been woven with a single unbroken thread, a thread that was even finer than a strand of human hair. "Let's bring this treasure home with us to study," Kurogu whispered to Amiya. Amiya carefully detached the web from where it held fast to a banana tree. But as he did, the web collapsed, sticking to his fingers. "Oh, it's ruined!" Kurogu cried. "Now how will we ever learn to weave this beautiful design?" Saddened, the weavers walked home. Their discovery was lost forever. When the men entered their village at dawn, Amiya's wife, Afia, came out to meet them. Afia offered them a calabash filled with cool water to drink. Neither man spoke as he ate, and for this reason Afia could sense that something was wrong. "Please tell me what troubles you," she said. "It is a beautiful web," her husband answered sadly. "When we tried to bring it home from the forest to study, it crumpled in my hands and was ruined." "Oh, do you think you can find another one like it?" Afia asked quietly. Kurogu was doubtful. This web was very different, very special, and no creature ever spins the same web twice. "Perhaps what happened was a blessing," Afia suggested gently. "Though you cannot find the same web again, perhaps you can find the same weaver." And that is what Kurogu and Amiya set out to do. Early the next morning, they eagerly made their way through the brush. Past the tall silk cottons and papaya trees, they found the banana tree where they had first seen the extraordinary web. Sure enough, in front of them were the beginnings of a new masterpiece. In no time, a slender black leg emerged from the shadows and rested lightly on the silk threads. Amiya and Kurogu could see the creature clearly now. The master web weaver was a lovely, large, yellow and black spider. As soon as they saw the spider, the men felt terrible for wrecking the magnificent web the night before. Now they could see that the web was the beautiful spider's home. Longing to take the web home with them, the weavers looked at each other. But neither of them wanted to destroy the spider's home a second time. They were about to leave when the spider looked directly at them and began a weaving dance. Dip, twist, turn, and glide. The spider made her way across and back over the web. She moved like a woman dancing, regal and very graceful. The spider wove on and on and wove. The spider wove on and on into the afternoon, and the weavers stood still in admiration as they watched her. At dusk, the tired but satisfied spider completed her creation. The spider moved sideways to the edge of her web, but before disappearing into the shadows, she turned in the direction of Amiya and Kurogu. In that brief moment, the men were quite certain she smiled at them. Then, in the blink of an eye, she was gone. The beautiful spider had shown the weavers how to weave new, intricate designs. What a wonderful teacher she had been. What a wonderful gift she had given them. With great joy, they returned to their village. In time, the weavers redesigned their looms so they could imitate the spider's weaving dance. At first, they copied her patterns in black and white thread. But soon they dyed their threads in bright colors and developed many new patterns themselves. And they named this new woven cloth Kente Nuen Notoma, what today is commonly called kente cloth. So you can see here they've got their new cloth that they wove, and it has lots of things going both directions, lots of colors, lots of patterns. Everyone in the village wanted to wear this new cloth, but at first only the king of the Ashanti people wore it on special occasions. As time passed, others were allowed to wear the new cloth too. Soon the two weavers were well known across Ghana, and because of the spider's generous gift, they created designs and patterns that are still worn throughout the world today. The end. So, what did the people in the story weave? You're right. So they started out. They wove just really simple cloth for clothing. And who taught them the new type of weaving? Who did they watch? Yep, it was that spider. And then how did their weaving change? Yep, so they had a lot of new patterns, new designs, new colors. So they learned a lot of new things. All right, in just a minute, I'm going to switch over to the video because I'm going to show you part 1 of our weaving lesson where we are going to be making our loom to get ready for next week. All right, everybody. So this is going to be part 1 of our paper weaving video. This is the part where we're going to be making our loom, just like this, our loom to use for our paper weaving. Now, you can either just use a blank sheet of paper, or if you want to decorate one a little bit, or if you have a colored piece of paper you'd like to use, those are fine. For the loom, I would suggest using a little bit of a thicker piece of paper. This is like a thick cover piece of paper. You could also use construction paper. If you don't have it though, regular paper will work. You'll just have to be a little more careful. Now, if you do want to decorate your loom, don't do a super fancy drawing because you're going to have part of it covered up. Look, I tried to draw a spider like in our book here, and then I put in my pieces of paper, and you can kind of tell what it is, but I lost a lot of my good picture. So I would suggest just doing something simple, maybe some designs, something like that. Now, when you are ready to do your loom, the first thing we got to remember is we're using scissors, so we have to be careful. We want to make sure we're cutting away from us, keeping our fingers either in the holes or right around the blade if they don't quite fit in the holes. All right, so when we're ready to start our loom, we're going to take our paper, we're going to turn it long ways. I know you might not quite be able to see it all, and we're going to fold it just straight up, just like that. Now we have our piece of paper folded. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to make what we're going to call a stop line. And so this stop line is going to be so we know to stop cutting. So on this open piece of paper, we're going to go up, down just a little bit, and we're going to try to make a straight fold across. See, I just pinched it and then pushed it with my thumb. You just want something straight across. This is where we're going to stop, remember. We can write our name up above our stop line, Mr. B. This is also good because the stop line here will not get covered up by any kind of paper. So you'll still be able to see your name. Now, we got to get from this one to this one. So what do you think we are going to be doing? That's right, we're going to cut. So should I just start cutting? No, I need a plan. So if you look, we can kind of fold these in half. If we keep them all like that, it kind of looks like a pair of pants, like SpongeBob's. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right near the middle with our scissors. We're going to get our scissors, we're going to cut straight up from the bottom, and we're going to stop at that line. So we're going to try to pick pretty close to the middle. It does not have to be exact. And I'm cutting up, I'm cutting up, I'm cutting up, and stop. All right. If you go across just a little bit, it'll be all right. We just don't want to cut all the way to the end because we don't want our loom in pieces. So So now we got our two legs so we can walk. Next thing we got to do is we're going to split this into 4 pieces. So should I cut across this way? No, you're right. What about, should I start up here and cut down towards me? No, no, no. I'm going to start at the bottom, I'm going to go up, and I'm going to stop at the stop line. So I'm going to try to go right in the middle here to split this 1/2 into 2 pieces. So cutting up, cutting up, cutting up, and stop. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here with this big part, this big square part. Cutting up towards the middle, and stop. Okay. So now, looks like I got pants for Pippin. Remember, Pippin's my cat. 1, 2, 3, 4 legs. So, we want to get it to 8 pieces like this. So, if we have our 4, and we want to split it into 8, that means, what do we need to do? You're right, each of these needs to be 1 more piece. So should I cut across like that? No, you're right. I'm going to split each of these in half. And if it's easier, you might want to go in and put a little dot or a line to kind of split where each piece is going to be, because sometimes when we start cutting, it gets confusing. So see, I did a little line going up from the bottom to split each of those pieces. Now, I'm going to take my scissors, I'm going to start on those lines, and I'm going to go up, and I'm going to stop. Now remember, we don't want to cut this piece in half because we would have a real tiny one, so we're going to go to the next big piece and split it in half. That's why those lines are helpful. We're going to go up, we're going to go up, and we're going to stop, and we're going to do it again. And stop. And look, I did cut across a little bit. Sometimes with scissors on heavier paper, it happens. But as long as I don't cut all the way up to that top edge, we're good. Because we got to make sure we have that framework. So let's see if it worked. I'm going to open it up, and look, there's my design right now. I'm going to cover some of it up when I start doing my pieces, but there it is. It's my loom. You know it's mine because I got my name on it. And so we're ready for part 2.